Tell us about how kids are faring today, health-wise, versus, say, a decade or two ago.
Yes. Well, first of all, there used to be a word in the doctor's dictionary called adult onset diseases. That word doesn't exist anymore because children are getting them. We're seeing cardiovascular disease in 10-year-olds. We're seeing high blood pressure in 10-year-olds. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes is now epidemic in children. And the prediction, which I hope is wrong, is that 50% of today's children will eventually have diabetes.
50%?
50%
of kids will have diabetes.
Alzheimer's. I was having lunch yesterday with Dr. Vince Hartness. Vince is an Alzheimer's specialist. He wrote anti-Alzheimer's prescription book. I said, Vince, when does Alzheimer's begin? He said, in adolescence.
How is that even possible?
That's when the brain starts changing a bit. See? So if you have Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancer. Cancer is now at all-time high in children. See, but the good news, Lila, is all that's prevented. I'm not a statistic person, but everything we talked about there is preventable, reversible, correctable tools. And that's what when patients in my office, for example, patients reading our books, I want them to leave with a toolbox to give to their children so they don't get all that stuff, we call it, later on.
Well, let's get into the toolbox because I am all ears. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Oh, bless your heart.
So we're on the front end of it. And I know a lot of our listeners are either parents or aspiring parents or very loving aunts, uncles, care about kids, of course. Before we get into the toolbox, so I got to ask. So you were saying cancer's at an all-time high. You were saying kids are even getting Alzheimer's now. They're getting diabetes at a rate they've never gotten before.
Sure.
Autism is another
Autism's a biggie. Yeah, and ADHD, all that, just so many. ADHD, for example, we have a book called the ADD book, and we were on, it was a Today Show, and Katie asked Martha, where did you get the information for the ADHD book, the ADD book? And my wife says on national television, it's my husband's autobiography. See? Because there's an example of we're taking children who are different. The ADHD is a disorder. It's called, and things that are called disorders are only called disorders because you can't bill for something if it doesn't have a disorder on it.
Oh, man.
But it's a difference. Some children are wired differently. So our purpose is to channel that difference, not to change them. See, that's a point I always make with when you mention ADHD, that it's the difference. Yeah.
Do you think that the higher diagnoses in autism, ADHD today, it's not so much that more kids are autistic or have, and I know they're different things, but, or have ADHD or ADD, it's that we are just diagnosing higher. Because some people say the 1 in 30 stat about autism, well, it probably did exist maybe 30, 40 years ago. It's just we diagnose more. When, like you say, doctors may be incentivized to do that.
A bit of both. I think we're diagnosing it better. Our treatment tools are better. Our medical care is better. But also, what isn't better is our children's brains. I always come back to the brain because that's the greatest organ. The brain. Children's brains are growing up in a polluted world. Until we change some of that, we're not going to stop the epidemic of autism. Okay, so that's what.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that a lot of these issues including autism, you would argue it's a polluted world, not so much genetic issues per se passed on through generations, although I guess you could, you know, have over time have environmental issues, maybe adjust genetics and what's passed on. But largely speaking, it sounds like you're saying it is the toxicity in the world today. Is that plastic?
Yes,
what is it that's the
You mentioned the magic word toxicity. Yeah. In fact, I dream a lot. I had a dream one day. See, mothers have a way of changing things. Now, look what moms did for the whole birthing atmosphere. You know, 30 years ago, say, moms would say, it's my baby, my body, my birth. And I'm not going to give birth in these little sterile rooms, look like an operating room. And now the hospitals, if they're going to stay in baby business, birthing suites, labor tubs, all those, because mothers demanded it. So I had a dream that millions of mothers marched on Washington and said, stop polluting our children.
When did you have that dream?
About a year ago. Yeah, and I dream that sometimes. Stop polluting our children. Stop putting these weed killers that our children are eating. Stop all the artificial stuff. And so that's my dream, that eventually mothers will prevail, that I'm not buying that for my precious child to put in their brain. So mothers.
I'm a mom. A lot of moms, I'm sure, listening, and dads. What would you say? I know we're going to get to the toolbox. What would you say are the top, let's say 5, you pick the number, the top basically in your view, pollutants, things that are toxic. You mentioned weed killers, I think, and I presume that's on the vegetables or the fruit that our kids are going to be eating. So non-organic vegetable produce, perhaps you're speaking to that. I don't know. So I'd love to hear your take on that. What are the kind of culprits?
Yeah, well, I think the weed killers tops.
Tops,
okay?
Wow.
That's the top one. They spray so that the plants, the weeds are killed, but the grass and the plants go better. So they make money on it. So others would be artificial sweeteners, aspartame. You've got to get rid of that.
What about stevia?
Stevia's okay.
Okay.
Stevia, good stevia.
Okay.
Yeah, stevia's okay. But now that you're on that subject, though, one of the things we teach parents, we call shaping young tastes. Shaping young tastes. Today's kids are being shaped to have a sugar taste. That's why they add all this stuff. They're not eating real foods. So we start our patients off with what we call, I give my little shaping young taste lecture. Shape young taste at 6 months when they start solid foods after as breastfeeding. And I say, now you want your child to develop a natural taste for real foods, not artificial foods. So we start with avocados.
Love them.
First food. Mama's, the tongue. Mm-hmm. The best food is mama's finger because it's soft and babies are used to it. Avocados, sweet potatoes. And 7 months, what do you think is the top food, the number one food on the planet? Most nutritious food you can start giving babies to shape their taste for. What would be your guess?
Besides the avocados and the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, besides avocados and...
Ooh, I want to get this right. And is it a fruit or a vegetable?
Not yet. I'll give you a clue. It swims in the sea.
Salmon?
Salmon! You got it. Yeah, it's biblical. Salmon. Salmon, Lila, if you were to Google the nutrient content of salmon, wow, 10 nutrients in a measly 250 calories of a handful of salmon. And all those nutrients are for a baby's brain and immune system. Mother's milk, baby's brain growth and immune system growth. Baby's microbiome or gut bugs growth. salmon. So that's why we start salmon. We have a little saying in our office, salmon at 7 months. Wild salmon from Alaska. See, so this is just shaping young tastes. Make your own baby food. Don't buy it. Make your own baby food so that babies grow up with the taste of real food. And I have a little confession. I use my office as sort of a laboratory to study it. And I would find that mothers would come in and say, you know, we have 4 children, and this is the first child I've stuck with real foods. And now he's 5 years of age. He'll eat salmon. He'll eat vegetables. He'll eat all the things my other kids wouldn't, because I started early with real foods. So they have a taste for real foods. So then, kids who have a taste for real food, if they go to a party or something, they get artificial sweeteners or something like that. Let's say they'll come home, yucky. They use the term yucky, because their mouthfeel and their gut, they say yucky tummy sometimes. They're so used to real foods that when they put unreal food in it, it's like, nope, don't belong here. So that's shaping young taste is a big parenting tool.
I have to ask, since we're on this topic, would you recommend, let's say we're using organic flour, we're using organic sugar, but we're baking cookies, we're, making coffee cake, I'm just talking about myself here. Guys, I do these things, right? Yeah. And you give a little piece to the 1-year-old. I mean, would you not introduce processed, I guess it's I'm processing the food, but would you not introduce, actual cane sugar to a child 1 or under? Or at what age would you say they can have the donut?
You don't ever need it. They'll get it. They'll get it at school, they'll get it at parties. You don't have to have it. No, put honey in it. You want some sweetener? Put honey in it. I drink honey water sometimes, like when I'm going for an interview, because I need the nutrition. But but real tastes. Now, an example of that, you mentioned genetics. Our child number 7, we number our children. We kid each other, Dad, you forgot our name, but we're number 7 anyway. Child number 7, Stephen. Stephen came to our family differently abled, Down syndrome, genetic quirk. And I remember Martha and I, the day he was born, and we said, he has a genetic quirk. And I started studying it, and the term is epigenetics. We can't change his genes. He will always have that extra chromosome. Can't change that. But epigenetics means that you can change how the genes behave. So we started him on all healthy, real food. Martha breastfed him for 3 years. It's very hard to breastfeed kids who can't suck very well. He had real food. He had salmon at 7 months. I had lunch with him 2 days ago, and he said, Dad, order some salmon for me. Okay? And he's 35 now. And so he's been our healthiest child. Sports. He's been in every sport. Because movement, today's children suffer from what I call the sitting disease. And we'll talk about that later, maybe, how movement is one of the best medicines for growing children. So he was out there at age 3 and 4 hitting baseballs and hitting golf. He plays golf now. They call him Harry Potter on the golf course. And so that's just an example. I say that if parents have a child with any type of genetic quirks, epigenetics, you can change and influence how those genes behave by how you parent and how you feed the child.
The question of nutrition, I'm going to guess, is going to continue to come back into this because that's one key way to protect the child. You're talking about when to introduce certain foods, which I already learned something. So thank you. our 1-year-old is already past those foods. But for the next baby, Lord, when we've got another one, I like your framing there. What are some of the tools in the toolbox to protect our children? You said it is possible to prevent some of these horrible illnesses that are plaguing our kids, or if they're experiencing an illness, we can reverse it, or sure. work towards reversal. Talking about nutrition, weed killers. We talked about the weed killers and how damaging those are. Would you say we should only do organic food? What's your take on the food profile?
I would say a garden, grow your own. Kids will eat what they grow. We learned that because we always had a little backyard garden. And they say, go out and pick some tomatoes, go out and pick some lettuce. Children will eat what they grow. And you can get little gardens called tower gardens that you have in your house even. So grow a garden. But the big one, Lila, is get them off the couch and moving. Imagine for a minute that the creator of the greatest creation ever made, the human body, the female body is the best still, and the babies, babies are beautiful. But the creator knew that we humans are going to mess it up by how we eat, live, and think. So naturally, the creator would put within our bodies our own pharmacy. Our own pharmacy. And when I talk about this to parents, they say, what? We have pharmacies inside our body? I never heard that. Yeah. That makes sense, Dr. Bill. Yeah. So then they say, well, where is that pharmacy? I say, well, you have a lot of them, but with the biggest pharmacy, where do you think the biggest pharmacy is? Where would you put it? If you wanted the medicines to get in the quickest, do their job and get in the bloodstream the quickest, where would you put it? And they're thinking, well, the lining of the blood vessels, the endothelium. Endothelium. This is the biggest word in medicine that many people have never heard of. The endothelium is the lining of your blood vessels. So picture the lining of your blood vessels have trillions of little microscopic medicine bottles. And those medicine bottles dispense around 25 different medicines into your body. Medicines that lower the highs, like high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, high blood sugars. Medicines that raise the lows, antidepressants, anti-anxieties. Medicines that heal your hurts, anti-inflammatories. Medicines that keep blood from clotting too fast, anticoagulant. See? The medicines you make are inside your body. But because of one thing, the pharmacy is partially closed in most children and most adults. So the big thing is, how do we keep our pharmacy open? And it's one simple word: move. We are made to move, not to sit. We're made to move. We're made that way. And what I'm about to tell you actually won the Nobel Prize. And I was taught this by Dr. Ignaro, who I knew I was studying the body.